A lot of people are familiar with the Stalker franchise. They're even familiar with the film, the book Roadside Picnic. But have you heard of the Stalker books? They're officially licensed, but many say they're of poor quality and not really worth it, save for maybe being collector's items. I've always seen a number of these fan-made books, but often only just the cover of them. They take art, throw the Stalker name on, and that's basically it. A lot of these books were made, and lots of them had trouble, not to mention translation issues, stereotypes, and overall quality decline. The Stalker Wiki has an entry on these books, though it isn't much. Here it is. There is a whole book series based on the novel Roadside Picnic in the soccer game franchise. So far, they are only available in Russian. The first book is called Stalker Shadows of Chernobyl. In Russian, Teni Chernobylya. It features a couple of stories written by different authors and fans of the game series. Later, as the game gained more and more fans, the book series became a hugely successful franchise. However, most of the novelization doesn't follow the game's storyline, as neither of the books are connected to each other. The success of the series has resulted in a decline in quality, as some of the stories became rather stereotype novelizations, applying the same cliches. Before Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl was launched in 2007, GSC teamed up with fantasy author Burned Friends to produce German books. Friends said in an interview that he was given one single afternoon with a beta version and a God mode trainer to get acquainted with the game. He produced 3 books, although totally different from the actual story. Even so, the books were a success, and Panini, the publisher, launched several translations from Russian. However, some of the books were not up to the expectations, and they also suffered from low linguistic and production quality. Back in 2002, GSC announced a competition for the best literary works about the adventures of stalkers in the Chernobyl exclusion zone. Until 2004, fans created 451 stories and novels. And you can find the works of the English-speaking writers here. I'll provide that link in the description. And at the end, of course, is the gallery, full of colorful photos for literature. But this is all the Stalker Wiki has. Stalker fans, however, say it's a mixed bag. Are these worth checking out? I've been struggling debating getting into the Stalker books, but wasn't sure where to start. OP says, I vaguely remember reading them all and liked some over the others, but all were worth a read as long as you're into it anyways. It was fun. The books made me play the games all over again, and so I've read them and played the shit out of the OG games meanwhile. And more. Most of them are pretty bad, to be honest. If you really want to read something specifically in Stalker Universe, you can check out early ones, as later releases go way off the setting with shit like alien spaceships, immortal superhero main characters, swords, flamethrowers, and superhuman villains, with no real relation to Stalker aside from things happening inside the zone. Regash even makes an appearance, saying, Nice collection. Damn, those are classics, especially Toad Zone. It came out before Shadow of Chernobyl was even released. It's the first licensed book overall, if I remember correctly. This was something new I learned, that a book released before the first game itself. What a surprise. And finally, we have like 80 books officially in the Russian language published, and like first 50 to 70 of them is really good. I read every of them and I highly recommend all. I hope you guys have some translations too. On these photos, I see only Deserter. It was one of the very first books in the series, and it's a really good one. Funnily enough, while I was recording this, one of the fans in the GSC official Discord asked a question relating to these books. Is there any books on the game, like perhaps some stories? And as it goes, Stalker Southern Comfort and Stalker Northern Passage are cool. I've never read them, but the premise is awesome, and I wish somebody would make a fan game about them. They are some of the worst literature I have ever read, on account of them being fan fiction. The discussion devolved into arguing about whether or not fan fiction was actual literature. But the overall opinion was that the books themselves, save for these few, was overall bad. A commenter goes on to say, back then, GSC had a Creative Commons license for their IP to be used in books. Thus, you have a whole lot of books published under Stalker brand that didn't have connection to GSC. One of these is Northern and Southern Comfort. GSC revoked this license a year after these two books' release. He goes on to say, I believe these were so bad, GSC pulled out. Licensed Fanfic Chapter 2. Taking cover behind a rock, the protagonist used a bandage, and then he used a medkit, and then he threw a grenade. This, in large part, is conjecture, but I don't think I'm ever going to familiarize myself enough with these books to really care. All I know is their reputation precedes them. To be quite clear, the only book I ever heard anything remotely good about was Southern Comfort, and I really don't think I'm going to read any of these books ever. They seem like too much of a gimmick for my liking. And 80 books. That is a lot of reading. Maybe it would be a good reading exercise, but that's for in the future. Have you ever bought, heard about, or read any of these books? Let us know.